Hi everyone. So I have been getting requests for the Siri deck cards that I made for myself, and because they're a one of a kind deck, I haven't mass produced them. I wanted to show you how I made my deck. And this is going to be actually a very brief video just with the basic essential information. So let's start with first of all, let me show you the cards. So this is the juicy, beefy deck of cards right here. This is a 144 card deck, hand painted on the back. I mean, this took me a week to create this beautiful deck. It's all language. Every card has, you know, an image with a word or a symbolic meaning. And many of you have already seen some of these cards. I'm not going to show you all of them. I'll just show you a few. But this gives you an idea. These particular cards are 3.5 by 5.5 large. I personally very much prefer large cards. I don't like small cards. I have some small cards. I have tarot decks that are small, but I prefer the feel of larger cards. I just do. And this is a juicy deck. This is a 144 card deck. So, you know, I had to learn to shuffle it, and I love holding them. I love shuffling them. I love playing with them. I love touching them all. And so I have my own system that I work with in order to shuffle them. But that's part of it. So I always go through a first system where I, you know, do it this way, and I kind of touch them all. And my hands speak to me, so my hands tell me when it's done with that section, and then what I do is I, you know, do a shuffling mechanism with them, like this. So I actually take them, I don't bend them, although these cards are, I have to tell you, a brilliant consistency. I'm going to show you in a minute. So this is kind of the process that I personally go through with this particular very large deck, but you could make a 78 card deck or a 44 card deck or whatever you'd like, you know. So let's start with the paper. Now, I wanted a special paper. I didn't want white, and I didn't want something plain. So this particular one is a 65-pound ivory paper. This particular one is Southworth, but you know, this is just to show you the weight of the paper and also the texture of the paper. So that was a 65-pound ivory parchment paper. And if you can see it, it has a bit of a parchment look to it. It has some variegated color, and there's also a bit of a texture to it, which I have to tell you I really loved. So this is the paper. There's a smoother side, and there's one that has a bit more of a texture to it. It's very thick. It's fantastic. And again, this was my preference. You could pick anything you want. But I did want to tell you it's 65-pound weight, because that will enable you to have a very wonderfully strong yet flexible card. It's a fantastic weight. I have to tell you, it's really good. And there's the back too. That's the back of my card. So what I did was I went ahead and laid out in my computer. So what I did was I you know, took many days. It took me probably 3 or 4, if not longer, days to find the images that I wanted. What I did first was I established the vocabulary that I wanted to have on the cards. I wanted certain words and certain phrases on my cards. I did that first. I knew I wanted it to be 144 cards, so I came up with 144 pieces of language that resonate for me, that could be Spirit's communication tool for me. It's going to be different for you. You're going to have your own set of language. So choose your language. If you want a certain number of cards, you pick that number of cards, and then you create your language. Then what I did was I sourced my imagery. Now, I sourced some of this online, and then I took some of it online and then I altered it. I have Photoshop, so I went ahead and added text, obviously, to the imagery. And then some of the images I actually changed. Like this one, I ended up, adding an effect to it. A lot of them I ended up adding pieces and parts here and there, but that's not necessary. But I certainly did add the text. And then once I had those images completed, I went ahead and laid them out 3 across. So these are 8.5 by 11 sheets. I laid them out on my computer in a Word document. That's a letter, landscape letter, 8.5 by 11, with the images across. I printed them out. It took, this was an expensive deck to make because, number one, it's 144 cards, but as you know, ink's expensive. So I spent, I think it was 2 complete cartridges of ink, if not more than that. Because I had some that were testers that I had to redo again. So it was expensive. The ink was an expensive aspect to this. So that's how I did it. I determined the quantity of cards I wanted the deck. I went ahead and selected the vocabulary. I selected the imagery. I popped the imagery into my program, which is Photoshop, and I added the language. And then I laid them out. So I'd pull them. I had a file folder with all of the images, and then I pulled, I created Word documents with the 3 set up, and then I would print them out. Now, when they're all printed out, I mean, I will tell you that I'm fortunate in that I have what's called a Kinko's near me. So I was able to take all of my printed papers, so all of these parchment sheets, that had all, so it was a big stack, and it had the 3 images on each one. I went to Kinko's and I took my laminating sheets, and this particular brand is Staples, but it's just hot laminating pouches. And I will tell you that it does matter the millimeter size. Now these are 3 mil. This 3 mil is kind of a key dimension because if you go thicker, the cards are going to be stiff. I have to tell you, I think this particular thickness is quite good. They're flexible. You can shuffle them in different ways. But they're strong. So it's up to you. But the 3 mil is what I used for mine. And then I bought my paper. I bought the parchment paper. I bought the pouches. And then, you would just go ahead. And again, I went to my local Kinko's store, which is actually FedEx Kinko's. And then I would put in my, my printed document, and you run it through their machine. I did that for free. So I spent a lot of time in Kinko's, and they were pretty cool. I mean, I've gone there and done other projects there, so they were fine with it. But I put these through the machine, and you can, by the way, you can buy your own lamination machine as well. So I put it through the machine, and then I went through and cut them up there because they have their big cutting machines. So that's what I did. And I will tell you, so before, one thing that I didn't share with you yet is I went ahead and hand painted the back of these. And what I did to do that was, before I laminated them, when they were still all on one sheet, I spread everything out, and with my own, gouache paints, I went ahead and put my designs on each one of the cards. That might sound like a lot of work, but it was such a labor of love. I loved it. So that's what I did. So, and I let that obviously all dry. That cured for probably a day, even though gouache dries very quickly. So yeah, so printed them out, painted the backs, let it dry, brought the pouches with the printed documents, took that into Kinko's, put these through the laminating machine, cut them all up. And once they were all cut, they were squared, right? They had square edges. They weren't rounded. I did this by hand. I cut every card corner by hand. And again, this is a labor of love, so it wasn't, for me, it was delightful. I loved doing it, and I didn't mind spending the time on it. For you, however, it might be that you want to get there is a cutter. It's like a hole punch, but it's a corner cutter, and you can get one of those, and that would save you time to do it. It would have saved me time to do it. So I hope that provides you just a quick introduction into, I don't know, maybe you want to make your own deck. You know, maybe you're interested in making your own divination deck. And I will tell you, kind of on a bigger level, is that it's wonderful to have your own deck because it's your own language, it's your own images, and it's your connection to spirit. So the information that's coming through is such a clear way that higher is speaking to you directly. I hope that helps. If you have any questions, you know, feel free to email me, feel free to leave a comment below, and I'll hopefully see you and talk to you soon.